That's tough. That's a
I
hard
just got
shout
back
out.
home and I had it on still. I didn't even
Shout
think
out
about
to the
it.
Squirtle, man. What do you mean by that, Harley? What do you mean? Are you telling us something? Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the sad edition of the Houston Texans Roundtable. I am one part of your show, Ruben Calvillo. I am joined by these three handsome gentlemen. Stressins, how's it going?
It's going all right, man. I mean, I'm sad the season's over, but I'm sure as the time goes on, it'll sting less and less. But I mean, that game felt just like the last time we played the Chiefs. Like it was a game we could have won, should have won, but we'll dive into it. But I'm doing all right.
AD, how's it going?
Could be better, man. Could be better. But we here.
Oh.
That's all I can say.
And Harleyton, how's it going, brother?
You
It's
know,
going good with that.
every, what's up? No, I'm all right, man. It is what it is. You know, 2025 off season. Here we come.
2025 off season, yes. What's cracking is this Red Bull right
At
here.
24, excuse me.
Well,
25, yeah.
boys, the Houston Texans season came to an end Saturday against the Kansas City Chiefs. 23-14 was the final score. But first, if you were at Tejas Brewery, please let us know in the comments because it was an absolute scene. Fox 26 put up. We had both the second and third floor packed. We had a live DJ who gave me and my co-host problems throughout the entire live stream. We had a halftime performance from Crenshaw and Kenneth the Messenger, which was fire. Throw them H's up. I saw Harley doing it. I saw Harley doing it in the corner. But other than that, man, it was an eventful Saturday, boys. Real quick, well, not real quick. Stressins, how are you feeling after the loss to the Kansas City
uh,
Chiefs?
I mean, yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, it felt just like the last game, and like my biggest thing isn't the rest, but I'll kind of touch on that. Like, it felt like I've always been like a neutral fan, and like I've always kind of liked the Chiefs, honestly, until we played them that last game. And I always thought like it was overhyped and overblown like these calls, but like until we played them in a meaningful game and went through it,
Yeah. We can't. Well, my
you gotta let me
my
finish. You let me
radar
finish.
went off. Like, what did I just like?
I mean, no, like I always thought like, oh, maybe it's overblown, but then that first game we had, I was like, all right, that shit's fucking real, bro.
Oh,
And then
okay. So you're talking about the referees?
yes,
Okay, well that's fair because
what do
you
you think I was
never.
talking about?
No, we thought
No,
like
this,
you like
this
the
is what you
Chiefs.
said,
Yeah,
Stressing.
yeah.
You said, I kind of like the Chiefs. Is what
Yeah,
you
I
said.
did. Yeah, I mean, because like like I kind of admire greatness. So like when the Texans are out of the playoffs, weren't in the playoffs, like I would somewhat root for the Chiefs in the playoffs. Like there's that aspect of like I'm watching greatness, but like you always hear about as like a third party fan, like, oh, they always get the benefit of the doubt. You watch it and you're like, oh, is it that bad? And so like I kind of questioned that, but until we played them the last time, I was like, all right, this shit is fucking real. I see why the rest of the league hates them. And then going into this next game, I was like, I mean, I knew it'd be bad, but I didn't think it'd be that bad again. And so now it's just like even more so. And we can get into that, but I still think that was a big factor. It could have decided the game, but there was still other things to focus on that really decided the game. But I mean, I walked away the same feeling as the game before. We hung in there. Like, yes, we lost, but like I still walk away feeling a little bit better about our team going forward. Like the fact that we were toe to toe with them, a 1 point game should have been a tie game in the fourth. The way we dominated the fucking game the whole time, offense, defense. The only thing wasn't special teams and penalties. And to me, it was a couple key coaching decisions. I thought D'Amico had a couple of decisions that I did not agree with. We can talk about that, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and then shout out to Spencer, who was also at the watch party. He said it was great for the actual game part. I would say this. I mean, it was close to like middle of the fourth quarter. So the entire time you felt like, hey, man, we're hanging with the Chiefs and maybe we are all going to witness greatness together. Unfortunately, did not happen. But Stressins, I think you bring up a great point, right? We always say, you know what, the NFL refs, they're not gonna hoe us. They're not gonna do it to us, right? It's just a fabrication. And then it starts happening to you. And then it's like, well, there's nothing I can do. These flags were flying, boys. And I mean, it's just like Hardy. I'm not sure if you remember from the watch party. We were too, messed up to remember. Every time a big play happened, at least one person said, "We don't celebrate just yet. Let's see if we see a yellow
Yeah.
marker come on the scoreboard." And many times it did. When Patrick Mahomes flopped, the entire place erupted. It erupted. I mean, just an electric environment. But Harley, you never want to say the refs had an effect in this game, but here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, man, the refereeing sucked. I mean, let's just be
Jack,
real.
what?
The refereeing sucked. What's that?
Hey, leave it up there. Leave it up there.
No, 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 no. I know what we're talking about.
No.
No.
we not. What do you think I was laughing at the beginning, man? No, we ain't gonna do that. We ain't gonna do that. Nah, the refereeing was ass. I mean, two-pack of ass. Bootios. I mean, come on, man. It was pretty ridiculous what was going on. And it was pretty clear that the game was pretty favorably skewed towards the Kansas City Chiefs. It just felt that way. I hate to say that. I'm for real, man. I hate to be that, well, you got to blame the refereeing. But damn, man, I mean, these calls were just atrocious. Come on, man. There was all kinds of calls where you have the players after the game talking about it. D'Amico Ryan's talking about it. Us versus everybody. And by everybody, we mean
that little dig.
everybody. Like the implicit, direction towards the referees as being a reason as to the Texans not getting to where they need to get to. But, Ruben, you mentioned it was 20-12 for the most part until about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And when he went for it on fourth down and D'Amico Ryan,
was dumb.
The game was over. That to me, the game was over. Exactly. Call a timeout. There's 5 seconds left, like AD's trying to say there. I mean, there's 5 seconds left. You're running up to the ball. You don't even know what's going on. You're like this. CJ's already clapping his hands. I mean, you don't even get a chance for the offensive line, regardless of how ass they are. At least have them just take a quick peek and look at what's going to happen for a few more seconds. Call a timeout if you're going to go for it on fourth down. Simple as that. That lost you the game.
Facts.
You could have punted the ball. You could have pinned them down inside the 10, at the very least inside the 15. Your defense has been doing their job for the majority of the game. I'm going to give them an opportunity to do it one more time. They punt, boom, you're down 8. Now you got, let's say, 5 minutes left in the game, 4 minutes left in the game. Here we go. Let's get it going. Let's get a drive going and let's see what can happen. Didn't happen that way.
AD, what were some of your thoughts about the game on Saturday?
Bullshit. That's what it was. I mean, it started off funky with the crazy kick return and, Boyd throwing his helmet out with the 15-yard penalty. Them starting the game at like the 12, 13-yard line was ridiculous. The crazy penalties, the non-holding calls. I mean, we can talk about everything, penalty ref wise that happened in that game. That caused the factor. But yeah,
no hip drop tackle on Schultz. That could have been a touchdown.
I mean, just play after play after play. If you look at the 2 penalties that everybody's talking about with Mahomes, that led to 10 points. We lost by 9. I mean, if you want to,
that's not even factoring in momentum either. That's just points.
They're not even factoring the missed kicks from Kaimi Fairbairn.
Kaimi cost us what, 6, 7 points? 7 points.
You could argue 10 because on that kickoff, his attempt to tackle that guy was putrid. Like he could have at least affected him and stopped him at like midfield, but he got another 30 yards after that.
So this for Rockets fans, this gives me the 23 missed 3-point game. This game gives me that feeling. Because if you notice in that game, Rockets fans, the refs played a major factor in that game as well. And we can say that the Kansas City Chiefs are the Golden State Warriors of the NFL right now. They're the golden child. But man, it was just depressing at the end, man. Like it was depressing at the end, the way we kind of just like shit at the bed as
Mm,
far as like clock management. Um, it's
yeah.
just situational football was bad. Like it's just mhm.
That boy Danny.
So no, no.
Not
So it's just all of those things like played a factor, and it was depressing at the end because I thought we were better than that.
Mm. No, 100%. It's just, you just get reminded, why the Kansas City Chiefs are just back to back Super Bowl champions. And, we could talk about the refs this whole episode. If you ask me, Stressens, why, one of the main reasons why you lost, I first look at the offensive line and how atrocious they were. 8 sacks on the day, 14 quarterback hits. But let's talk about before the game. What was your reaction when you found out that Shaq Mason was being reinserted into the offensive line? I was watching the H-Town rundown and, seeing AD, he was like, no way, no chance. And yet, when we saw that news, I think we all just looked up at the sky and said, what the hell are we doing here?
I
Let's
was
see.
stressing, man. I mean, I had Aaron Wilson on Friday, and we were talking about it, and he actually kind of said that. He said it's 50-50. Like, we all thought for sure there's no way. He's like, I don't know. They might go with Mason. And sure enough, they announced it a day or so later, but I was in disbelief. And then I thought for sure, first half he's playing terrible. Okay, yeah, they're going to fucking bring in Juice in the second half. Like, we're good. Stays in the whole fucking game and keeps making mistakes. And, like I am a big supporter of D'Amico Ryans. He is that guy 1000%. But if there is one thing to kind of, pick on him for, a lot of people do, is they question his loyalty. Maybe he's too loyal at times. And I don't know if that's a factor in this situation where Shaq Mason, who's an aging vet, he's been struggling all year. I'm trying to like think in his mind. He said he had a great week of practice. Like, that can't be why. I think he was the same reason Kenyon Greed played way too long in this roster, was the fact that he's just too loyal to guys that they're committed to money and
Who's
draft
loyal?
capital wise.
Who's loyal?
D'Amico.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it was this crazy narrative by this little short man, from Florida, saying that it was Nick Casario, and just
There
want
ain't
to,
no way Casario's telling D'Amico who
just
to
want
who to
to,
start in the game.
yeah, just
No,
want
there's no way in hell that's the case. It's D'Amico's team. He's the
you
freaking
know,
head coach.
I just
But
want,
yeah,
I just
that drove
want,
me
and
crazy.
I just want us to kill that narrative because that was
That's
trying to
not
get started.
even. I mean, regardless, that's yeah. But no, I am glad though. Like, my
AD
biggest gripe
has
with the
his
whole
own
game.
agenda this episode.
But my
What's
biggest
going
gripe
on,
though.
AD?
No, I mean, go ahead, Stresses, finish your point, bro.
I was just gonna say
I'm
my
good.
biggest gripe on the whole game. Harley touched on it, was the 4th and 10 decision. Like, I don't really criticize too much and hyper focus on decisions, but that literally was the fucking game, bro. Like, I feel like that was a learning moment for D'Amico. I felt like he let the moment get too big. Like, you kind of wonder, like, did the cold get in his head? Like, was he too cold and thought unrationally? I think it's more so the fact that he got scared of Mahomes, even though you fucking held him in check all fucking game. And all 2 years of your career, you've been a defensive minded head coach to the point where you're like, annoyingly super conservative. He's always fucking punting. He's always playing field position. And the one time that you should do it, you go for it on 4th and 10, bro. And then not even that, you take too long to decide to go. You take forever to get the play in, and now you're barely getting the snap off. Like, we were a second away from getting a delay of game from lucking into the right decision, and we might have had a chance to tie the game. And you can even say too, the 55-yard field goal. Like, I thought the win, no one talked about it before, but evidently it was a big fucking deal. Kick a 55-yard field goal into the fucking wind, and then they get the ball back at the 55, and that's their one big scoring drive, is they get one play to Travis Kelce, boom, touchdown. It's like, I mean, I love D'Amico, but I those two decisions I think were a big factor, and I just can't get over them, man.
Well, Harley, this is not the first time we've had the conversation about D'Amico Ryans being loyal. And there's this phrase that if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, what is it, AD?
Quack, quack, like a duck.
Harley, Is D'Amico Ryans too loyal to certain players, and is this a concern going forward?
Well, hell, I mean, it has to be, right. I mean, you're talking about Shaq Mason, who shouldn't have been even playing in this game. We just came off of our best, I will say it, our best offensive output. And I know we put up 41 against the sorry ass Patriots, but to me, our best offensive game all year was against the Los Angeles Chargers in the wild card game. And it just so happens your offensive line was configured with the exact same five guys, but Juice Scruggs was in at right guard. Now, was Juice Scruggs hurt? Was he injured for the game? I don't know. We won't really ever know unless you're an insider, but I don't really care. Juice Scruggs could have had no leg out there, and it would have been better than Shaq Mason. Juice Scruggs could have had no arms, and it would have been better than Shaq Mason. Like, that's Shaq Mason should have not even sniffed the field. Like, I don't understand what we were doing there. But when it comes to loyalty and D'Amico Ryans, I mean, you heard me talk about it, Ruben. And I know we're gonna harp on this, but it's, to me, the biggest reason as to why Bobby Slowick will be probably coming back for the Houston Texans in one more year is because loyalty. And D'Amico Ryans comes from that Kubiak Shanahan tree, and both guys are always loyal. When we had Gary Kubiak, he was loyal to a fault, and I'm hoping that characteristic isn't extended to the D'Amico Ryans, but we've seen countless times that it does feel like he is a bit loyal to. I mean, come on, man. Shaq Mason couldn't block a traffic cone. I mean, my goodness gracious, Shaq Mason, what are you doing, buddy? He is about 6 feet, 455 pounds out there, and he was athletic as fuck last year, and now this year he's 1,455 pounds, and he can't move. He can't do shit. I mean, what are we doing? He lost all athleticism. And D'Amico went into practice and went, man, that fat ass right there, that's the guy we're going with today, buddy. That's the guy we're going with. And Juice Scruggs over there with a damn bum knee over there. And I mean, played his ass off last. It's not like the run game was affected last week. You had Joe Mixon in the run game do well. You had your passing game do well. I don't get it. Why are we doing this? The Texans have done this all year. All year. They continue to have the gun in their hand and point it directly at their foot. They've done that I'm tired. I'm tired of this.
I need D'Amico Ryans to take the philosophy of Chris Brown. He made this song, and he said, these hoes ain't loyal. like you gotta take advice from that, and just like, you can be as loyal as you want to these players, but these players ain't gonna give a damn about you when it comes time for you, when your head is on the chopping block. Like, CJ Stroud can make this fake ass, petition for Bobby Slowick, but at the end of the day, shit don't mean nothing when it comes down to results. So it's a results-based league. It should go both ways. If the coach is held accountable for results, so should the players. Players absolutely got to be held accountable. And when you sit up there and you make the decision about Shaq Mason, it's like you're saying, I'm so fucking unserious. I'm not serious at all. I'm not serious about winning this game. I'm not serious about putting the best five out there. Like, Shaq Mason has been a bad decision. It was a bad extension. It was all of the narratives you want to say about Shaq Mason, put him out there. He shouldn't have been out on the field. He's coming off a knee sprain, barely could walk, in I think the feels like temperature was like 8 degrees out there, and you're putting a guy with a bum knee just because he's a veteran instead of playing a younger, better player in Juice Scruggs. Like,
so it had to be because he was a veteran or because you owed him money, right? I mean, it had to be one of those, like, invest
money at this point when it comes to the playoffs. Fuck what your contracts say. I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to think of, like, rationale as to why. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, maybe it's this, maybe it's that.
But if that's the rationale, D'Amico should be fired along with Bobby Slowick. And people will hate to hear it, but again, if you're gonna ride with Bobby Slowick and what he's decisions he's made and all that stuff for another year, and you come back and it's the same result, now D'Amico Ryans is on the chopping block.
But we see that kind of stuff all the time in football. Like it's an ego thing, whether it's a GM or a coach. Like, I mean, you see it in college. Like if you recruit a guy and give him a scholarship and you have a walk-on come on and he's better, you're still going to play the fucking guy that you put all this money and time into. It's one of those things where it's like, all right, like I need to realize I was wrong about this guy. I'm going to play the better player, you know?
Man, you mean like how Texas played Quinn Ewers all year?
Yeah, I mean, it happens on every level of football, bro. It's sad.
It's just something that we all knew was going to be doomed from the start. Whenever we saw that notification that he was starting, we knew the offensive line was going to be in for a rough day. And it was clear from the jump that Shaq Mason was not ready to be out there. And hardly as we head into this season, the Texans are without two things: an offensive line coach and an offensive coordinator. Now, to your point just a couple of minutes ago, that because of D'Amico Ryans being so loyal to some of his guys, you really do, in fact, see Bobby Slowick coming back. I haven't dove deep in yet, but I don't see any like candidates that will make me say, yes, that is the guy that I want. Well, what happened, AD? You put your finger up?
No, I got one candidate.
Who?
And he just won the national championship.
Talking about Chip Kelly?
Chip Kelly.
The guy that traded away all the Philadelphia Eagles?
He ain't got that control. Not as the OC. He ain't got that kind of control. So Chip Kelly, Clint Kubiak. If you want to keep the same system,
Wasn't Clint fired in the middle of the season?
Clint wasn't fired. Dennis Allen was
just
fired.
sucked.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Clint was the OC the entire year.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's available right now.
Yeah,
a lot of
think
people
Cleveland has interviewed him, and it's another team has interviewed him as well for OC.
Let's see here. Offensive line coach first, I really don't know. Look, you have John Benton is available. That's somebody that was here with the Texans before during their successful times as an offensive line for the majority of those years. He was also with the San Francisco 49ers, so he knows D'Amico. He has a connection to D'Amico. He coached here when D'Amico was a player here. So that would be somebody that I could see as a drawn line for the Houston Texans to grab. But, I mean, it seems like the biggest rumor, according to Jonathan Alexander and Aaron Wilson, was to internally make the promotion of Cole Popovich, who is the assistant offensive lines coach. And when I looked at Cole Popovich, I mean, I already had him on the staff before whenever D'Amico was coming over here. Look, he has a connection to Nick Caserio, really. He was with the New England Patriots. He was a assistant O-lines coach there. He was a co-offensive lines coach as well. He was in line to take over Dante Scarnecchia, who's the longtime offensive lines coach there, very respected O-lines coach across the NFL. Didn't happen. In 2020, COVID hit. He ended up going to high school team, and then he ended up going to Troy afterwards, and then he found his way back to the NFL with the Houston Texans, and he's been here ever since. So, not my biggest, because when I take a look at Cole Popovich, I'm like, okay, cool. Do you know this scheme? Like, I don't want to be in the same boat that we were just with Chris Strausser. Chris Strausser did not know this scheme. And, I mean, that's where you throw more fault towards D'Amico, because you're like, buddy, why'd you hire this guy if this guy don't know the scheme? I mean, as much as we blame Chris Strausser for a lot of these issues, and yes, he deserves a lot of the blame, at the same time, I'm like, man, dude, he don't know what the hell he doing. Like, when I got hired at Home Depot, they made me tool rental department manager. I don't know two fucks about tools, man. So there ain't no fucking shit. I got fired.
That's how you know we're from the age, baby. That's how you know we're from the age, baby.
I'm like, No wonder they fired me in 6 months, even though my numbers and sales were very high and twice as high as the person before me. But that's besides the point. That's besides the point. That's the whole point of that is just saying, like, man, dude, he really wasn't qualified to begin with. Cole Popovich, I'm not sure if he knows this scheme. I really don't. The Patriots, I know, did not run a zone run scheme. I know that for a fact. So does he know? I don't know what they did in Troy. I have no clue. I'd have to look at who was the offensive coordinator over there, who was the coach over there, So offensive lines coach is kind of muddled right now. I don't really know. Unless they want to do a Mike Munchak thing, I would not mind Mike Munchak. I know he can fix shit. Like, it don't matter what scheme it is. It just seems like Mike Munchak can adapt to whatever it is. And he's respected. Former Houston Oiler during the good old days of the actual Houston Oilers, and he's respected. He's a former offensive lineman, a former player. Everybody knows who he is. Everybody will respect him, and he commands that respect regardless. I would hire Mike Munchak regardless, just because he has head coaching experience. That's something I would like to have on this staff. It's something we don't see enough of on this staff with D'Amico Ryans. I would hire a Mike Munchak regardless if he's the O-line's coach.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Is he fat or is he skinny? If he's skinny, don't fucking hire him.
I mean,
Strausser was like a
he's lost
freaking
weight 'cause he's
toothpick.
not
That
an
guy's a
offensive
fucking
lineman
O-line
anymore.
coach. What are we doing?
Yeah, and then I think John McClain had said that Munchak, he took a couple years off to get some surgeries done. I think he got both his hips replaced, so he could be ready. And now he wants to come back and coaching. I would make that hire, as soon as he, in a heartbeat. And AD, what are you looking for in an OC? You said Chip Kelly. What excites you about Chip Kelly? And then I'll let Stresson, follow that up with the question. My question for you, Stresson, is what is the sense of urgency right now to get this done? Because now head coaches are getting hired. They're gonna start filling out their staff. But AD, what do you like about Chip?
Tempo, and like I like the tempo is the main thing. And I think that's what lacked with Bobby Slowick. We talk about it all the time. The 4th and 10 was an example of the rushing to the line to try to get the play done instead of running at the last second of the play clock, running your play with 20 seconds to go or 15 seconds to go, not breaking the huddle with 14 or 12 seconds left, and you're trying to diagnose plays and diagnose alignment, diagnose blocking scheme.
I bet you the length of the play call is like this short for Chip, and I bet you it's like this for Bobby.
Yeah,
on top of not being no huddle.
The fact that CJ has to wear a damn wristband just to call out the play is a travesty in the first place. So it's just the imagination that Chip Kelly brings. Like, he's been successful everywhere he's been offensively. Everywhere. There's not been a place, even when he was at UCLA, they had great offenses. Look at DTR. DTR got drafted due to Chip Kelly. So all of these things, and at that point in time, UCLA was trash. So, you gotta give Chip Kelly, he has the pelts on the wall, he has the experience. I know people don't like him for certain reasons as personally, but as far as like his coaching ability, he's one of the best in the business.
Yeah, and then I guess to answer your question, Ruben, the urgency, I mean, I don't know, it's tough. I mean, I honestly haven't really dove into, the list of candidates, but I would imagine, like you said, I mean, time is of the essence. People start, making their plans, signing with teams and all that stuff. But for me, it's kind of a sad reality. Like, I kind of like don't even want to entertain it because I don't think it's going to happen. So I don't want to get my hopes up. I would love someone, why can I not just Chip Kelly or anybody that has any kind of innovative offense? Like, that was my biggest gripe. And I think all of our biggest gripe this year was, Bobby Slowick has this certain scheme, but then our personnel doesn't match it anywhere. I mean, maybe receiver, but like the quarterback's a better spread quarterback. The O-line's a better spread O-line. And then in the run game, they're not a zone, blocking team. They're a gap blocking. Running backs was almost better in a gap scheme as well. It was just everything pointed to running different types of plays, and we didn't do it. I do think I was honestly surprised this week when D'Amico came out and basically said he's going to evaluate everybody and like alluded to the fact that Bobby's job wasn't safe. That took me for so like that was encouraging to see. I still don't think that he's going to fire him. The one thing that I'm going to want, obviously, the O-line coach retiring, which was, I mean, you wonder if he actually retired or not. I heard that, obviously he's supposed to retire the year before, but you still kind of think about it. But the one thing is, like, I think they're going to bring Bobby back. What I want from him though is like this year, if he does come back, just learn how to adapt, bro. Like, hopefully you get more pieces to the offense you want, new O linemen, all that stuff. But you need to change the protection rules. You need to allow CJ to make audibles and set protections. You need to run more tempo. You need to run the plays that benefit our offense. Run more gap plays. The last 2-3 weeks of the year, he ran more gap plays than you had all year, as opposed to zone running plays. And what happened? The fucking running game was awesome. It's like, why did it take you all fucking year to do that? Like, there was even a point in the middle of the year where like the Patriots game on, where I was like kind of tracking the trend of like gap to zone runs, and it was always like super heavy in favor of zone to gap. And he started to get like 50-50. And like during that sample size, it ran like whams and traps and powers and all that good stuff. And we had good results. And then he got away from it. Like, it made no sense. And then, so that's my big thing. If we do get him back, just learn how to adapt. But yeah, that's my take on it.
AD, what would the leash be on Bobby Slowick if he is retained for a third year? I feel like as soon as the first bad thing happens, it's get rid of him.
Well, this is the thing. You can't have a short leash on Bobby if you don't have a good backup plan in-house. If Gerard Johnson goes on to become the OC for the New York Jets, which is rumored to be a possibility with Aaron Glenn taking that job in New York, what is your backup plan? If you don't have an in-house plan, you're gonna be stuck with Bobby the whole year. So, and it's just frustrating because I'm like, what are you doing? Like, are you bringing in an experienced play caller? And it was a point on Twitter, I forgot who said it. Credit to whoever said it. But you literally went in with a rookie head coach, a rookie OC, and no other coaches with any head coaching experience on the staff. No guidance for D'Amico, no guidance for Bobby Slowick. It's a lot of things, because there was when we hired Bobby, and I think if I'm not mistaken, we were going to hire what's the OC? Cliff Kingsbury. We were going to hire Cliff Kingsbury as an assistant, as a offensive assistant or whatever, assistant head coach, offensive assistant. And people just shitted on it and said it will be the worst hire ever. No, Cliff. And then Cliff turns around and goes to Washington, and they're in the NFC Championship game. So, like, you have to have experience, a head coach experience. You have to have a guy who's called plays at a high level on that staff as well, and which is what you don't have. So, like, if you're gonna revamp everything, hire your Romeo Cornell, somebody for D'Amico to bounce ideas off. That's not Mac Burke, who's just a yes man, yes boss. And for Bobby Sloyd, get you a proven OC. If you're going to keep him in that building with you, even if it's North Turner style or whatever, anybody, something that's a veteran play caller, has been calling plays for years, that's sitting on their couch right now, bring him in. And if the shit goes to hell with Bobby Sloyd, you can let him go. But letting Bobby go without a solid backup plan, and even with Gerard Johnson, if you fire Bobby and you bring in Gerard Johnson, now you're talking about Gerard Johnson, another inexperienced play caller with nobody to help. It's the same thing that you're going in with nobody to help Gerard Johnson along the way.
Hey, I think a point too is like, and it's not an excuse, but like maybe why we didn't hire, other veteran coaches is D'Amico is so young. I mean, he became a head coach at such a young age. Like, his network is a lot smaller than other coaches. But to your point, at this point in time, like it's evident you need it. So, I mean, by now you got to know enough people to come in and help you out in that regard.
He has coaches he's played under. Like,
yeah, that's a good
Gary,
point.
hold on. Gary, I would have opened the checkbook up. Gary Kubiak, I know you don't want to coach. I know you want to sit at home, watch
Consultant.
TV. I will make it worth your fucking while to be in the building and tell Bobby what
He
the hell.
probably lives in Houston. Hey, just come by
Oh,
once
he
a week and teach
absolutely
us the
does.
zone running scheme, man.
He
Oh yeah, he
does.
does. He does.
He lives in Houston. They can call goddamn Gary Kubiak right now. He's down the street. And get him in the building. Like, even if that's what your next move is bringing in Gary Kubiak as a senior offensive consultant. Your offense going to look totally different.
You think so?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Because let me say,
Big
go
time.
ahead, go ahead.
Because
No, I was about to
go
say,
ahead,
for
go ahead.
me, just watching it, Bobby Slowick's offense could be excellent if you had premier talent at every position.
Yeah.
If you had premier talent, like we had it off with wide receiver, but you had premier talent and you had 5 Pro Bowlers on offensive line. You had a Pro Bowl tight end. You
That's
had,
any offense.
I know, but I'm just saying for Bobby Slowick, like
Yeah.
the offense is lackluster. Even last year, CJ and Nico Collins made that offense better than what it was. Because once again, you take Nico Collins out of the game, you take CJ Stroud out of the game, you get the Tennessee Titan game that we barely won. You get the Cleveland Brown game with freaking when we get waxed by 30 some points. Like, that's what you get. That's the offense if you don't have a CJ Stroud. Just imagine if we had to go this season with just Davis Mills. Joe Mixon was out. The run game disappeared when Joe Mixon was gone. There was no run game when Joe Mixon was gone. Nico Collins goes out for 5 weeks. Offense looks shitty because we don't have anybody. We can't move the ball down the field passing because Nico Collins is not there. You take your big play guys out of the offense, and it's anemic, and that is frustrating because I'm like, any other reputable offense, if they lose a player, they're still going to be effective.
Mm-hmm.
O line. Got a good enough O line to sustain it. I think the big thing too is like adapting. Like he didn't adapt, and Bo Diggity pointed out like this Shanahan scheme seems to be getting figured out. Like we saw it in week 1. The Colts learned how to beat us with stunts, and every fucking team used it after that. And then week 3, the Vikings used blitzes and simulated pressures and zone blitzes and like mostly nickel blitzes, and then every team copied the same shit. And here against the Chiefs, what killed us on the last drive? Blitzes and nickel blitzes, the same shit that and stunts, the same shit that happened weeks 1 and 3. We still couldn't stop in the second round of the playoffs. It's like, how have you not adapted? Like, I get you have your playbook, but like change it up. Start doing different stuff. So that's my biggest gripe, man. It's like it's kind of ironic because Bobby Slowick is this young, innovative coach, but he comes off as like an old, hard-headed coach. Like the mindset of like, this is my play. I'm going to run it this way no matter what, and like we'll just line up and outman you. It's like, no, dude, you got to get innovative. And the other thing too about this offense is like it's all predicated off making it easier for the quarterback. Well, guess what? You have a quarterback who doesn't fucking need that. He's smart enough to not need to be babied. Empower him, so adjust to what you have, empower him, give him the keys, and make your life easier. It's ironic because you dumb it down for him to make it better, but you make it worse by doing that.
What was your point, Harley?
Yeah, no, you were talking about like, I mean, bringing in some experience, and I think for Bobby Slowick, if you're gonna keep Bobby Slowick, and I think that's where my mindset is. I feel like the Texans are gonna keep him for another year. If you do, why not go after a Gary Kubiak, for example, someone that knows the scheme inside out? He knows how to work it, and when you got a play out and Bobby's like looking at the play and just human, like just people as humans, you're like, as a human, you're just like, oh man, I don't know if this is gonna work. And at work, you're at your personal job or something, man, sometimes you ask who? Your supervisor or someone that has more experience than you that you rely on. And somebody like Bobby Slowick could rely on a Gary Kubiak. Hey, what do you think about this? In practice, or when you got all the time in the world to really refine your shit. And Gary Kubiak could be that guy that you can lean on. The Texans got they got some offensive coordinators that are available. Like Chip Kelly's not a bad option. I don't think so. I mentioned it on Bleacher Report with Ruben. He spent 2 years with DeMeco Ryans from 2013 to 2015. So, he has DeMeco played underneath him. So there is a connection there immediately. So there's guys Chip Kelly could bring in as well if they let him like maybe build some of his offensive staff, and that's usually what happens when you get a new offensive coordinator. There's some guys available there. Clint Kubiak is a good name. I like Clint Kubiak. Clay Kubiak is another one that could follow suit. He did get promoted within the 49ers because Shanahan likes to try to hide these guys away from people. So Clay Kubiak is also there, maybe not ready as an offensive coordinator. I like Clint Kubiak better because he has that experience. Wes Phillips is the offensive coordinator currently with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I'm not saying he can make the lateral move, but because he has that relationship already with DeMeco Ryans, if he wanted to make the lateral move, if the Vikings would allow it, considering their head coach is an offensive guy and Kevin O'Connell, considering they also got Josh McCown down there as well too, maybe they're willing to let him make that lateral move to Houston, where obviously he will be right at home. So there's a few guys right there that you kind of go, that's not so bad. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if any of these guys are the answer, but hell, there's options out there if you want to take a look. There are options. And the Texans, they got to go through, they got to, what is it? Dot their I's and draw their T's or whatever. Like, they got to do everything they can to get this right. DeMeco gave the timeline, right? He said a week. So what's going to happen Monday morning? Are we going to get it sooner than that? Are we going to get it a few days later than that? Like, I am very interested to see where this goes. The offensive coordinator.
I think the longer it goes on, the more likely that Bobby Slowick is going to return. I feel like if we would have had any type of idea that he would be gone, we would have heard it by now. I mean, of course, also Nick Caserio likes to keep things in-house. We heard C.J. Stroud give Bobby Slowick some praise, as well as Joe Mixon. We know that this team's 50-50 about it, and I just think if it is Monday and we have no news, Bobby Slowick is going to be our offensive coordinator. And ladies and gentlemen, if that does happen, we are going to be here reacting to it as we do every single Wednesday. Thank you for everyone who was a part of today's episode. Streston, do you have any closing arguments?
I mean, there's a couple things too, like, Stroud pointed it out as far as like his case for Bobby. There is value in keeping the same. My fucking light just fell off my computer. There is value in keeping the same coordinator. You don't want to switch with the young quarterback every year, but you have to weigh the pros and cons of both of that. And then I just thought of something too when Harley said with Chip Kelly. I mean, yeah, he was at Ohio State, who's with Ryan Day, and like CJ loves Ryan Day and that whole thing. So I mean, if there was a transition, he would probably run a similar offense to what he ran in college. So it may not be that. He may just go back to a previous offense. So I mean, I don't know, man. I try not to entertain the thought. I got excited hearing Harley mention the names out there, but I'm kind of stuck between like, we're going to have Bobby. Maybe he could fix it. I don't know.
AD, closing remarks.
Look, ready for this offseason, ready for some things to shake. DeMeco made a statement that, CJ made the statement that things are going to be different. There's going to be major changes. And so I'm just waiting to see what happens. But whatever happens is
he's going to be locked in this offseason.
Absolutely. We're going to see CJ. No more baggy pants, CJ. No more baggy pants.
Harley.
Y'all think he's no podcast? I think he might still go on a podcast.
No, I don't think so.
Who wants him on the podcast
he got roasted, bro.
That's true. It's a good thing, though. Sometimes it's a good thing. The gulag candidates. Oh my goodness, that's a crazy.
People on the verge. Chloe Strausser, Popovich, Nathan,
man, all of them. I forgot about Okuda.
I mean, it's hard to argue. Those are some good candidates.
Yeah. Look, real quick, even offensive lines coach. I just thought about it right now. It just came to my head. But I don't know if Manny Ramirez is still available for coaching. And I'm not talking about the baseball player. I'm talking about the former Chicago Bear that's a Houstonian. He was a part of D'Amico Ryans' last year Bill Walsh internship. He was a part of the Bill Walsh internship, him, Jonathan Joseph, as well as a few others. But Manny Ramirez coached here at Texas Southern University as an offensive lines coach, was credited for their really good improvement on the offensive line. I'm not saying he's the old lines coach, but that could be somebody that could come back and that we may have probably forgotten. Manny Ramirez had a lot of success as a center for the Chicago Bears and the Denver Broncos, the same Denver Broncos that had Gary Kubiak. And that would be very fun because Manny Ramirez then tells you that he knows this scheme. He's a fat guy stressing.
Hey, that's all I need.
Bald headed. He's from the H. I mean, can't get much better than that, right? That would be an interesting one that I don't think a lot of people are talking about as a potential offensive lines coach.
I just can't wait to find out, boys. And once we do, we'll let everyone else know. That was Stressins. That was AD. That was Hardy. Boys, we will see you next week to talk about if there was any moves made by these Houston Texans. Do me all a favor. Have a real blessed rest of your night.